Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, and this time around I'm gonna talk about Dust: An Elysian Tale for the PlayStation 4, an action side-scrolling RPG that was originally exclusive to the Xbox 360 many years ago, and then it slowly got released into other platforms, and finally a few months ago it hit the PlayStation 4. And it was part of PlayStation Plus, so I was able to get the game for free, and I'm really glad I did because I don't think otherwise I would have given or bought the game, to be honest, even though it did look interesting. I know a couple of YouTubers talked about this game in the past. I know Dustin Grice had a pretty good discussion video about this game, but really glad I was able to get it for free, and because I really enjoyed the game, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you guys. Essentially, like I said, it's a side-scrolling action RPG. If you guys have played Muramasa for either the Wii or the Vita, you somewhat know what to expect with the game. It has an action-based combat system and a little bit of a Metroidvania type of elements where you have to go back and explore areas you already visited. But Dust offers a storyline which is a little bit of a cliche storyline. It starts with your character waking up, not remember anything, and you're met with this talking sword that tells you that you're chosen, and you have a destiny to fulfill and things like that. And this talking sword has a companion called Fidget, which is basically your companion throughout the whole game, and you talk back and forth with her. And it's kind of like Navi from the Ocarina of Time. She gives you advice and things like that, or hints every now and then. But she makes a pretty good connection with you in the sense that there's a bit of humor in the talking back and forth and in the dialogue throughout the game. But she also plays a key part because she helps you in the combat system. So if you upgrade the magic, she has more powerful attacks and things like that. But back to the storyline, I got sidetracked a little bit with the gameplay, but the storyline is basically that. You start in a very mysterious way, you don't know anything, so as you progress along the game, you find more about your past and about your mission, your actual mission in the game, and it's hard to talk about the story without spoiling too much, but that's about it. That's about the extent that I will talk about the story, but just quickly want to say that keep in mind that the story is actually very interesting for being a shorter type of game. I think the story, in the grand scheme of things, deals with things like war and social division and love, things like that, poverty and just societies affected by war and things like that. So some pretty I guess serious themes are involved in the story, despite the game looks, which is kind of like a cartoony type of presentation, if you want to call it that. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the characters. This is an area where a lot of people don't really like the game. A lot of people found the character design to be a little bit or bad, if you want to call it, and I agree. And I can see why people think that. The characters, they look to come out straight out of those mid-90s cheap Disney knockoff cartoon movies that you found on these bargain bins when you walk into a pharmacy. That's kind of like the type of character design the game has. It's a very like cheap Disney knockoff cartoonish type of look, and a lot of people, I don't think, enjoy that. I've read a lot of people criticizing the character or the art overall, the art direction in general, or the character design, but all in all, I've enjoyed the characters, and it's pretty cool because in this game you meet a lot of NPCs when you get to a certain point, whether it's a village or a city. There's a number of NPCs that can give you side quests, and they all have spoken dialogue or voice dialogue, which is I thought it was great. I really enjoy games that have that much attention, and especially this for being an indie game. This game was developed by basically one guy, which it's kind of funny because this guy posts on the NeoGAF forums, which I frequent, and this guy from NeoGAF just basically, he did all the design and the graphics and animation, and the only thing that he needed help with was the voice acting, obviously, and the soundtrack. But everything else, it was a one guy job, if you want to call it that. So that's really, really impressive. And yeah, it's very impressive because all the NPCs you talk to, they have voice dialogue or voice acting, and they have varied, narratives or scripts, if you want to call it. Like if you keep talking to them, they will have a different dialogue. And like I said, they have side quests that they send you to gain experience and things like that. So in that regard, I have a lot of respect for this game for being an indie game. I think the production values are great. Now gameplay, which is one of the most important parts of the game, obviously. In the gameplay, it's a little bit of a hack and slash system. The combat works. You have tons of minions basically attacking you, and those are really easy to defeat. You just mash your attack button and you get rid of them without too much thought. But it's really cool how the game throws you like stronger enemies every now and then that require you to think or develop a strategy or use a certain set of moves or magic to defeat those enemies. And the same thing happens with the boss battles in the game. So I think even though the combat is repetitive, you learn basically combat-wise, you learn everything you need very early into the game. The game breaks away from being repetitive thanks to the mid-tier type of enemies where you have to defeat them in a certain way, and sometimes you're attacked by minions and this mid-sized enemies that you have to juggle between your hack and slashing with some strategy involved in it. And of course you have your companion Fidget, which she can do magic attacks, and you can upgrade her magic attacks, and you can get different magic attacks with her, and depending on the type of enemy, some of her magic works better than others. So I thought the combat, while it could get repetitive if you play it a certain way, it gives you enough freedom to play it in a different style that prevents from the game to becoming way too repetitive, which is something that I have to admit, and I'm going to draw again another comparison with Muramasa. I've enjoyed this game way more than Muramasa, to the point where I completed Dust and Elysian Tale, and I went back to get a few trophies to get the platinum because I enjoyed it so much. Whereas Muramasa, which has a fantastic graphics, probably one of the best of this last generation. Muramasa is one of the best looking games, hands down. The gameplay did not do a whole lot for me, to the point where I actually have not completed Muramasa yet. I just wasn't feeling it, and I think both games you can draw comparisons with both games in terms of gameplay and in terms of combat, even if you want to call it that. But I have a much more fun time with Dust, to the point where, again, I completed the game and I went for the platinum trophy. Whereas Muramasa, I just kind of put it to the side and I need to get back to it. But yeah, talking about the combat system, every time you defeat the minions or any type of enemy, really, you get loot. And with the loot, you can upgrade things like your armor, you can put rings into you, and all these different armors and rings and accessories that you can equip your character have different effects. They can up your attack, your defense, your magic, and things like that. So throughout the game, you also have to loot and gather loot in order to, when you open treasure chests, you get a blueprint, and with the blueprint you can, like I said, you can create new armor or new rings that greatly help your character throughout its journey. And also the RPG elements, obviously the more you fight and the more enemies you defeat, the more experience points you get, and you can upgrade your attack, your defense, I think your magic, and something else. Attack, defense, magic, and something else I cannot remember at the moment, but yeah, it has those RPG elements that are present there and that are pretty fun to level up your character and see its progression and strength. Graphics wise, this game looks great. It has a cel shaded type of presentation, and again, I know a lot of people criticize the fact that the character design, but I don't think anybody can deny that the graphics in this game look pretty damn good, especially considering this is a one man's work. So the graphics look great, and you get varied sceneries in the game. You get to fight in forests. Or you can also go to like snowy mountains and caves and things like that. So varied scenery that, in my opinion, looks great. Going back to the gameplay a little bit, the Metroidvania elements are pretty cool, especially since early in the game, or I should say later in the game, it's when you get some of the most basic like platforming skills. Like in other games, you get these skills early on, but in this game, you get them very late on. For example, a double jump. It's a skill that you get very late into the game, so you have an idea of where to go back, because as you play the game, you can see areas that are not accessible, obviously, and then once you get that ability later in the game, you remember, and then you have to go back, and you may find a treasure chest with like a very nice set of blueprints where you can upgrade your equipment and make your character more strong. So a lot of Metroidvania elements, a lot of going back to previous locations to get more stuff, more loot and things like that. So in that regard, I had a lot of fun with the game going back, especially considering the maps are not huge. They're not incredibly big, but they're not incredibly small either. I think it's a perfect size maps for this game. As far as length and difficulty, it took me about 15 hours, I think, to fully platinum the game. And as far as difficulty, from the get-go, I started on the hard difficulty, which is if you want to get the platinum, you have to beat the game at least on the hard difficulty. And another YouTuber here that I talked to, C Stove, he told me, yeah, just start the game on hard because it's not too difficult. And I found the game to be actually difficult at the very beginning, and then it gets easy right after the beginning of the game. It gets easier once you level up your character one or two or three times to make him stronger. And then the difficulty spikes way up when you get to the later chapters in the game. The problem with playing the game on hard is that early on in the game, obviously, you're very limited to your attacks, and the big enemies or the boss fights, they can kill you in 1 or 2 hits. So once you get past that, once you level up your character, you're good for that middle stretch of the game. But once you reach the end of the game, the later sections of the game, you have all these strong enemies attack you, and the final boss battle, I thought it was pretty damn difficult. And another thing that really makes the game difficult, not only is the fact that the enemies in the game get really strong at the end, it's also the fact that you need to eat like food to replenish your health meter, and food is expensive in this game, and enemies don't necessarily drop food. So you're left off with basically buying food from stores to replenish your health, but 1 or 2 hits and that your health bar goes down like really quick. So add to the fact that when you play on hard and you get to the save point, your health only gets replenished up until only 1/4 of your entire health bar. So in other games, usually when you reach a save point or a certain location in the game, your health bar gets fully replenished. Not in this game. So for the most part of the game, I would say 80% of the time that I was playing the game, my health bar was always at 25%, because buying food is in a way kind of like useless sometimes, because you replenish your health bar and then you get hit by enemies and it goes down really quick. So I basically was just trying to save my money, and I'm really glad I did, because towards the end of the game I bought tons of food and revival stones that every time you get killed, you automatically get revived and your health bar goes full. It's fully replenished. So that was very helpful in the boss battle and in the later parts of the game. But yeah, I would say it's challenging. You have to manage the money you collect in the game, and you may have to do a little bit of grinding towards the end of the game if you're finding troubles or problems, because you need money to buy food and stuff like that, and the game gets pretty difficult towards the end. So it got a little bit frustrating towards the end in terms of difficulty, but I'm glad I did, and I'm really glad I went for the Platinum Trophy, because I enjoyed this game a lot. And like I said, the combat system does a good job of preventing from being repetitive, thanks to the different magic attacks that you get from your companion Fidget. I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the setting, the dialogue, the voice acting. I thought it was pretty good. The story, again, I'm surprised because it's an indie game. It's a short type of game, but I thought the story was pretty pretty well done for being this type of game. And of course the combat, I enjoyed it. The upgrading elements, the RPG elements, the Metroidvania elements that you have to go back and forth to previous locations once you unlock certain skills. I had a great deal of fun with this game. More than Muramasa. I know there's a lot of Muramasa fans out there. If you're a Muramasa fan, please check this game out. I think you will find it enjoyable. I probably force myself to go back to Muramasa, see if I can beat it and change my opinion on that game. But other than that, that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.